गोपी जन वल्लभ वरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा मुरलीधर श्री राधे जय गौरचंद्र जय गौरचंद्र जय गौरचंद्र जय गौरचंद्र जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Okay, I've shared the screen for the verses. There are a lot of verses today, and we will be I'll just be reading the English translations for the first few verses. For the last verse, we'll be doing the Sanskrit and word to word and the full purport. So we are reading from Canto 10, chapter 78. This is verse number 7. This is a translation by the humble disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus trying to harass Lord Krishna with harsh words, as one might prick an elephant with sharp goads, Dantavakra struck the Lord on the head with his club and roared like a lion. Although hit by Dantavakra's club, Lord Krishna, the deliverer of the Yadus, did not budge from his place on the battlefield. Rather, with his massive Kaumudaki club, the Lord struck Dantavakra in the middle of his chest. Verse 9. His heart shattered by the club's blow, Dantavakra vomited blood and fell lifeless to the ground, his hair disabled and his arms and legs sprawling. Okay. Verse 10. A most subtle and wondrous spark of light then rose from the demon's body and entered Lord Krishna while everyone looked on, O king, just as when Shishupal was killed. Verse 11. But then Dantavakra's brother, Viduratha, immersed in sorrow over his brother's death, came forward, breathing heavily, sword and shield in hand. He wanted to kill the Lord. Verse 12. O best of kings, as Viduratha fell upon him, Lord Krishna used his razor-edged Sudarshan disc to remove his head, complete with its helmet and earrings. Verses 13 to 15. Having thus destroyed Shalva and his Shobha airship, Soba airship, along with Dantavakra and his younger brother, all of whom were invincible before any other opponent, the Lord was praised by demigods, human beings, and great sages, by Siddhas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, and Mahoragas, and also by Apsaras, Pitas, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and Charanas. As they sang his glories and showered him with flowers, the Supreme Lord entered his festively decorated capital city in the company of the most eminent Vrishnis. So this is the verse that we'll be doing from end to end. This is verse number 16. Evam Yogeshwarah Krishno Bhagavan Jagadishwarah Iyate Pashu Drishtinam Nirjito Jayati Saha. Synonyms: Evam, in this fashion, yoga, of mystic yoga, Ishvaraha, the Lord, Krishna, Krishna, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Jagat, of the universe, Ishvaraha, the Lord, Iyate, seems, Pashu, like animals, Drishtinam, to those whose sight, Nirjitaha, defeated, Jayati, is victorious, Iti, as if, Saha, he. Translation: Thus Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all mystic power, and the Lord of the universe, is ever victorious. Only those of beastly vision think he sometimes suffers defeat. That's a very strong translation. Beastly vision. Purport. Now there's a very long purport, but I think it's like by Krishna's divine arrangement, it's one of the best purports, very relevant for today. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following elaborate commentary on this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Concerning the killing of Dantavakra, the Uttarakhanda of the Padma Puran contains further details in the following prose passage. I'm just going to read the English translation in this. Then, hearing that Shishupal had been killed, Dantavakra went to Mathura to fight against Krishna. When Krishna, moreover, heard of this, he mounted his chariot and went to Mathura. Between the two of them, Dantavakra and Lord Vasudev, there then began a battle at the gate of Mathura that lasted all day and night. Finally, Krishna struck Dantavakra with his club, at which point Dantavakra fell lifeless to the ground, all his limbs smashed like a mountain shattered by a lightning bolt. Dantavakra achieved the liberation of gaining a form equal to the Lord's, and thus he also achieved the Lord's eternal supreme abode, attainable by perfect yogis, which bestows the happiness of everlasting spiritual bliss. So it was that Jay and Vijay, apparently because of being cursed by Shanak and his brothers, but actually to facilitate the Supreme Lord's pastimes, descended to this material world and in 3 consecutive lifetimes were killed by the Lord himself. Then at the completion of these 3 lifetimes, they attained liberation. In this passage of the Padma Puran, the words Krishna's Tutach Shrutva, when Krishna heard of this, indicate that the Lord heard from Narad, who travels as swiftly as the mind, that Dantavakra had gone to Mathura. Therefore, immediately after killing Shalva, without first entering Dwarka, the Lord reached the vicinity of Mathura in a single moment on his chariot, which also moves as swiftly as the mind. And there he saw Dantavakra. Thus it is that even today, by the gate of Mathura, facing the direction of Dwarka, there is a village known in the vernacular as Datiha, a name derived from the Sanskrit Dantavakraha, the killer of Dantavakra. This village was founded by Krishna's great-grandson, Vajra. So this is one section of the purport. Now we are reading another section of the purport, which is very deep, very significant, especially for today. In the same section of the Padma Puran, these statements follow. After killing him, that is Viduratha, Krishna crossed the Yamuna and went to the cowherd village of Nanda, where he honored and consoled his aggrieved parents. They drenched him with tears and embraced him, and then the Lord offered obeisances to the elder cowherd men and gratified all the residents with abundant gifts of clothing, ornaments, and so on. Lord Keshava sported continuously with the cowherd women on the Kalindi's charming bank, which was filled with pious trees. Thus, the Supreme Lord, assuming the appearance of a cowherd, resided there for 2 months, enjoying the pleasure of intimate pastimes in various moods of loving reciprocation. Then, by Lord Vasudev's grace, Nanda and all the other residents of that place, together with their children and wives, assumed their eternal spiritual forms, boarded a celestial airplane, and ascended to the supreme Vaikuntha planet, Goloka Vrindavan. Lord Krishna, however, after bestowing on Nandagopa and all the inhabitants of Vraja his own transcendental abode, which is free of all disease, traveled through the sky and returned to Dwarka as the demigods chanted his praises. Srila Rupa Goswami comments as follows on this passage in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Since Drona and the other demigods had previously descended to earth to merge as partial expansions into the king of Vraja and other devotees of Vrindavan, at this time it was these demigod expansions whom Lord Krishna sent off to Vaikuntha. Lord Hari is perpetually enjoying pastimes in Vrindavan with his intimate devotees, the residents of Gokul, who are dearer to him even than his most dear other devotees. In the passage of the Padma Puran, the word putra in the phrase, the Nanda Gopa and the others together with their wives, with their children and wives, refers to such sons as Krishna, Sudama, and Subala, while the word Dara refers to such wives as Shri Yashoda and Kirtida, the mother of Radharani. The phrase Sarve Jana, all the people, refers to everyone living in the district of Braj. Thus, they all went to the topmost Vaikuntha planet, Goloka. The phrase Divya Rupa Dhara indicates that in Goloka they engage in pastimes appropriate to demigods, not those suited to humans, as in Gokul. Just as during Lord Ramchandra's incarnation, the residents of Ayodhya were transported to Vaikuntha in the self-same bodies, so in this incarnation of Krishna, the residents of Vraj attained to Goloka in theirs. Lord Krishna's journey from Dwarka to Vraj is confirmed by the following passage of Srimad Bhagavatam 1:11:9. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan, or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like 1,000,000 years. Lord Krishna had been harboring a desire to go see his friends and relatives in Vraj ever since Lord Baldev had gone there. But his mother, father, and the other elders in Dwarka had refused to give him permission. Now, however, after the killing of Shalva, when Krishna heard from Narad that Dantavakra had gone to Mathura, no one could object to the Lord's going there immediately without first entering Dwarka. And after killing Dantavakra, he would have the opportunity to meet with his friends and relatives living in Vraj. Thinking like this, and also remembering Uddhav's allusion to the gopis in the words, Gayanti te Vishada Karma, this is from Bhagavatam 10:71-9, he went to Vraj, dispelling the feelings of separation of the inhabitants. For 2 months, Lord Krishna enjoyed in Vrindavan just as before, previous to his leaving there to kill Kamsa in Mathura. Then at the end of 2 months, he withdrew his Vraj pastimes from mundane eyes by taking the demigod portions of his parents and other relatives and friends to Vaikuntha. Thus, in one complete plenary manifestation, he went to Goloka in the spiritual world. In another, he remained perpetually enjoying in Vraja while invisible to material eyes. And in yet another, he mounted his chariot and returned alone to Dwarka. The people of Shorasen province thought that after killing Dantavakra, Krishna had paid a visit to his parents and other dear ones and now was returning to Dwarka. The people of Vraja, on the other hand, could not understand where he had suddenly disappeared to, and so they were totally astonished. Furthermore, Shukdev considered that Parikshit Maharaj might think, how is it that the same Krishna who caused the cowherds to attain Vaikuntha in their self-same bodies also caused the residents of Dwarka to attain such an inauspicious condition in the course of his Mausala Leela? Thus the king might consider the arrangement unfair because of his own affinity for the Yadus, That is why Shukdev Goswami did not allow him to hear this pastime, which, as mentioned above, is related in the Uttarakhanda of Sri Padma Puran. In Sri Vaishnava Toshini, Sanatan Goswami's commentary on the 10th canto, we find the following sequential list of pastimes. First was the journey on the occasion of the solar eclipse, then the Rajasuya assembly, then the gambling match and attempted disrobing of Draupadi, then the Pandavas exiled to the forest, then the killing of Shalva and Dantavakra, then Krishna's visit to Vrindavan, and finally the winding up of the Vrindavan pastimes. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So thank you everyone for joining today's Bhagavatam class. I seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees, online, offline, especially His Grace Adipurush Prabhu, Arjuna Prabhu, so that today's Bhagavatam class may be nourishing, encouraging in our spiritual life. So, so these verses are very, the first few verses, in fact, all the verses, barring some certain sections of the purport that we read today, they are very poetically and very beautifully described Dantavakra and his falling down, his spilling of blood. And how is this beautiful? How is this sweet? It's because all this is happening, all this is done by Krishna. And whatever Krishna does is sweet, is perfect. And on an absolute level, it is all good. Sometimes we describe the beauty of nature, the beauty of, say, a sunset. But when we describe it on a more spiritual level, we have to understand that we are going actually one day closer to death. It's one more day less that we're going to see the sunset again. And even when we compose some nice verses or some poetry on someone's beauty, we have to know that sooner or later, this person with who has most likely a material body, who I'm talking about, if you're describing someone with a material body, then within a short time, that person will soon be ashes or stool. So everything that is beautiful in this material world will not be beautiful anymore. But here, Dantavakra, he's roaring, he's falling on the ground, he's dying, he's vomiting all this blood and everything. It is beautiful because he is finally getting liberated, and his eternal soul will be finally going back to the spiritual world so that he can enter into Krishna's pastimes once again. And we see that whatever Krishna does is all perfect, because whatever he does is out of his mercy. It's ultimately good for all living entities. Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita that he's equal to everyone, but he reciprocates with everyone in the manner of how they approach him. And we see in the verse that Dantavakra, after he is dead, his light enters into Krishna, just like just as it has happened with Shishupal. And this is actually a very historical event because it is actually a fulfillment of a desire that happened millions and millions of years ago. This same person, Dantavakra, and even Shishupal, they were Jai Vijay, and they came in the Satya Yuga as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. In Treta Yuga, they came as Ravan and Kumbhakarna. And now in Dwapar Yuga, they had come as Shishupal and Dantavakra. The same two souls in all these different bodies. And over the yugas, they had destroyed so much. They destroyed all the beauty, all the good which was there in the world. But then they were eventually destroyed. Their bodies were destroyed by Varahadev, Narasimhadev, Lord Ram, and now finally Krishna. And after all of this whole journey of so many yugas, they were finally going to go back to Vaikuntha. So it's important that we see what was happening behind the scenes. It's a whole historical context. They were demons and now they were killed, but they were actually associates of the Lord who are now finally returning to the Lord. So it's a huge momentum. It's a huge historical point to remember that this is the time when finally everything is getting over. Their curse was finally coming to an end. They're going to go back to Krishna eternally. And but their journey was not so easy because devotees in general are very kind, loving, merciful. But like as demons, they had to do such terrible and very notorious things. They had to assist the Lord in his pastimes. But imagine the services that they had to perform. They had to they had to commit so much of Vaishnava aparadh. Just consider one person, Hiranyakashipu. So much he had he had to inflict so much of pain on a pure devotee, an innocent little boy, Prahlad, who's a Mahabhagavat, who's a Mahajan. He threw him in a pit of snakes, threw him from the mountain in fire, tried to drown him so much. Like it was painful actually for Jay and Vijay to do this internally. Although yes, they were covered by by the illusory potency of Krishna, but ultimately internally they were doing it for the service of Krishna. And they thought that they were demons. Still, Krishna gave them these bodies so that they could assist him in performing these wonderful pastimes so that they could attract everyone to go back to Godhead in their loving service. And this is a very important point to note that in we want everything in material world, and sometimes in bhakti we wish everything could just be clear, black and white. But most often it is never so clear. There are often a gray area, subtleties in between. And how a loving exchange is happening between Krishna and his devotees is often in this gray area. We're never able to fully understand what's happening behind the scenes. So this history of Jay and Vijay falling from Vaikuntha and taking up these demoniac forms and finally being liberated in this glorious poetry and in this message is almost like a historical closure for Jay and Vijay. But at the same time, it also gives a lot of hope to us, for us who try to understand Krishna's pastimes in a very deep and internal way through the mercy of his devotees. Because whatever the Lord does, it fulfills so many purposes. Even cruel and demoniac people, just by remembering Krishna, like how these demons were eternally remembering Krishna, they can get liberation. Even more recently, like Jaga and Madhai. So it is said that Jay and Vijay, they wanted to come in Lord Gauranga's pastime. So they came as Jaga and Madhai. And they also performed many cruel and atrocious pastimes. But they took shelter of the holy name. They took shelter of Lord Gauranga. And in all humility, they submitted to Lord Nityananda, and they were given the gift of bhakti. And this is the power of devotional service. This is the power of Krishna's grace. So now coming back to the pastime, after Dantavakra's soul enters Krishna, we see that Viduratha comes, who's Dantavakra's brother, by the way. And he is very, very angry because we see all his friends, Shishupal, Shalva, Pondrak, and now his brother Dantavakra, they all have been killed. And all these people were killed by Krishna or by his devotees. And that too, it happened like quite easily. Yes, with some of them it took some days, but ultimately Krishna knew the way how to defeat them. He's a supreme personality of Godhead. And yet Viduratha is coming in front of Krishna, thinking that he will be able to defeat Krishna. Although around him it is very clear that just the opposite has been happening the whole time. And this is the nature of false ego. The false ego covered, our real intelligence is covered so much by anarthas that we cannot think clearly. Even Duryodhan, for that matter, Duryodhan, he was covered so much by his ego that he created this whole system of logic, of rationalization, of this whole propaganda that what he was doing was right. Internally, he felt that what he was doing was right. And this is a very important thing to understand about false ego. There's so many tyrants, barbaric leaders in the history of this world, who felt that whatever they were doing, they were right. Hitler and his men, they thought that what they were doing was right. They might have led or whatever, like some of them were vegetarians and everything, but they felt that no, what we were doing is right. It's not good to kill, but we have to do this. What do we do? This is how our intelligence can be covered if we don't take the shelter of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Hiranyaksh, Hiranyakashyap, Ravan, all of them were great scholars. They knew Sanskrit so well. They knew Vedas. I mean, when Hiranyaksha was killed, his family was grieving, and Hiranyakashipu gave this whole big dialogue to them on the soul, on karma, this, that, everything. And ultimately, what did he do? He himself ultimately fell down into his demoniac nature. So unless and until we don't take the shelter of self-realized souls, unless we don't read the scriptures from their point of view and not from our egoistic intelligence covered by false ego point of view, we are surely going to fall under illusion, just how Viduratha is right now. So we need to be humble. We need to take the shelter of scriptures, of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra all the time, so that we can understand the word of God properly. Because even understanding the word of God is actually not that simple. A same sentence can be misconstrued in so many different ways based on what our agenda was. So much more important it is that we don't end up having this Viduratha type of mentality, seeing the reality right in front of us and yet ignoring it and trying to fight and be rebellious against Krishna. So anyways, Viduratha felt he was justified in his mind, and he was convinced that yes, he was going to defeat Krishna. But Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So we need to make sure that we don't fall under this trap and just take shelter of devotees to understand that yes, we may be wrong, we may also be under Maya, and just because we are assuming anything, our justifications and logic may not be correct. And we see Krishna kills Viduratha very, very effortlessly, and it's described, that it's described as wonderful because Krishna is doing it, and whatever Krishna does is very pleasing to the heart. Even in the battlefield, we see that when Krishna was in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it was a huge war. People were dying all around. For a materialist, the whole battle of Kurukshetra is like extremely ghastly. But just because Krishna was there, it was the most captivating scene in the, the whole thing was made, the whole war was sanctified just because of Krishna's presence over there. And that's what we need to understand. Whatever he does, whatever Krishna does, it enlivens us. And ultimately, Krishna even enlivened Viduratha by liberating him. So now we come to the second section of this whole purport, in which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling, he's speaking from the Padma Puran, that Shukdev Goswami did not actually tell Parikshit Maharaj about Krishna entering Vrindavan and, like what his pastimes were with the residents of Vrindavan, because he felt it would be a bit unfair, so that's why this is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, and it's only mentioned in the Padma Puran. that, after killing Dantavakra, after killing Shalva, Narad Muni comes and informs Krishna that Dantavakra is attacking at Mathura. So Krishna immediately takes this opportunity. Yes, killing Dantavakra is important, but when he hears it's Mathura, oh no, Mathura is just so close to Vrindavan. This is finally the time I can fulfill my promise which I'd given to my mother and all the residents of Vrindavan. So Krishna takes full use of this opportunity and he goes there. He does his business of killing Dantavakra, Viduratha, and everyone. And then he does what he has been wanting to do for all these years. Ever since he had left Vrindavan, he had wanted to go back to Vrindavan. And especially time and again, when Lord Balram goes to Vrindavan to visit the Vrajvasis, Balramji comes back and tells Krishna that everyone is really missing you. You need to go back. Uddhav also goes many times to Vrindavan and he tells that, how can you not go back? But Krishna was not allowed to go because his relatives felt at Dwarka that if he would ever go back to Vrindavan, he would never come back again. So then they didn't want to lose Krishna, which is sweet in their own way. But because of that, Krishna was not able to go to Vrindavan. And anyways, after so much separation, um, we see that he finally goes to Vrindavan. And how is he going? He goes there as a cowherd boy. It's mentioned in the in Padma Puran that as he's going, as he's taking each and every step in Vrindavan, he's leaving all of his ornaments, all of his jewelry, all of his royal things. He's removing his royal, the royal, anything which would signify that he is a prince and not a cowherd boy. And he finally takes up his kesh and he ties it as a turban and he goes as a cowherd boy. Because this is the way how the Vrindavan Vasis wanted to see him. This is the way when Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya see him like this way, they are so happy because up till now they had only seen him as a prince at Kurukshetra after so many years. But seeing him now come back as their boy Krishna, the cowherd boy Krishna, they were extremely delighted. And this is the Vipralamba Bhav that they had experienced for so many years. This Vipralamba Bhav had nourished them so much that even their Sambhoga, their meeting, had become more sweet now. And this Sambhoga makes the Vipralamba again more sweet. So Vipralamba and Sambhoga are very much interconnected. They make each other sweet. And these all pastimes, like this day is actually the best day to read Krishna entering Vrindavan because today is Kartik Purnima. This is the day when Lord Chaitanya also entered Vrindavan. His lifelong desire, Lord Chaitanya's lifelong desire was to go to Vrindavan. But again, just like how Krishna was deterred by his relatives not to go, even all of Lord Chaitanya's associates were kind of dissuading him not to go to Vrindavan because they didn't want to miss on his association. They felt that, oh, if he goes to Vrindavan, he may never come back again. But anyway, Lord Chaitanya goes to Vrindavan, just like how Krishna goes back to Vrindavan. And there Lord Chaitanya meets with all the birds, animals, trees. He's reciprocating with them, just like how Krishna is reciprocating with each and every personality over there. Not only he's meeting his parents, but he's meeting his friends. He spends and has wonderful pastimes for 2 full months with the gopis. And that's also what Lord Chaitanya did. He spent a good amount of time over there, unearthing the different pastime places of Krishna, especially our very beloved Radhakund and Shyamakund. And he performs so many pastimes at Govardhan, goes to each and every forest. And it all started from this day, from the auspicious day of Kartik Purnima. And, interestingly, all these residents of Vrindavan, they had not aged by Krishna's potency. They still remain eternally youthful, just the way how Krishna had left them. So it's not that, like any of his cowherd friends had become old and, they were like walking with a stick and Krishna is this youthful person. Because they all are eternal residents, eternal associates of Krishna, they had almost remained by Krishna's potency, the same as how Krishna had left them more than 100 years ago. So yeah, these two months were some of this best months that he finally got to fulfill his own desire. This was Krishna's inner desire. So when we are reading these verses, we are actually understanding Krishna's inner desire to go back to Vrindavan. So this whole month of Kartik is very auspicious because this is the month of Radharani, a very the most intimate associate of Lord Krishna, who is giving us entrance into Vrindavan, who we worship and pray to this whole month, so that she can also give us entrance into Vrindavan eternally by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. And just one last thing I would like to mention, that we see in this verse, it is mentioned that Krishna, he sends the demigod portions of his associates back to Vaikuntha, and the spiritual personalities who are his eternal associates, they all remain aprakat, means they all remain unmanifest in Vrindavan. And Krishna also remains unmanifest in Vrindavan also with them. So Krishna's gone to Goloka. He is remaining in the unmanifest form with all the Vrajavasis. And at the same time, he has to go back to Dwarka because he has to wind up his Dwarka pastimes. So he also mounts his chariot after 2 months and he also goes back to Dwarka. So this is Krishna. This is how great Krishna is. Like he's prakat and aprakat at the same time. It is completely inconceivable. The more we try to understand Krishna, the more we understand that we cannot understand. How he can do this multitasking is beyond our comprehension. We feel that, okay, fine, I'm doing a meeting. I'm going to write an email at the same time because I have to do this. I have to speak to someone at the same time. I'm going to eat my food. I'm going to take care of my kids. And I'm going to do all of this at one time. I'm so great at multitasking. And this is nothing in comparison to what Krishna's multitasking is. He does everything. All his incarnations, all his pastimes are happening eternally unmanifest right now. In the millions and billions and countless universes, all his incarnations are coming and going. They are appearing and disappearing to our material vision. And this is happening simultaneously. So, yeah, Krishna's multitasking levels are a level we cannot reach, but just admire and serve. So, yes, this whole pastime is very auspicious to remember on this day, that yes, Krishna had made a promise to his eternal associates, to his pure devotees, that he would come back and meet them, and he fulfills that promise. A promise that he has made to a pure devotee, he will always fulfill. I would just like to mention one thing, that today is also the divine appearance day of Sri Nimbarkacharya, who is in the line of Kumar Sampradaya, and whose teachings also Lord Chaitanya had had imbibed in the divine teachings that he has given us. And the 2 points that he took from the Nimbarkacharya Sampradaya were taking exclusive shelter of Srimati Radharani and appreciating and the exalted love that the gopis had for Krishna. So, because it's such a great acharya, we should also remember that we know all these great acharyas because of our great acharya, Srila Prabhupada. So the more we take his shelter, the more we take mercy of the holy name of Srimati Radharani. On this last day of Kartik, pray, real intensely from the core of our hearts to give us eternal shelter in Vrindavan. It's one step closer we take to going back to Godhead. So thank you so much. I'm sorry I went a little bit 5 minutes overboard, but it was just a lot of good points I wanted to share today. So please excuse me for that. Please, any discussion, any questions right now?
Thank you, Nandini, Radhika. Temple room, Jivan Mukta Prabhu, Arjuna Prabhu. Hare Krishna. It's amazing how Krishna's desires are in regards to his devotees. He just wants to hang out with his devotees. That's
all
what Krishna,
time.
That's what God himself wants. It's amazing.
Yes, all the time. Manohar Prabhu would like to share something.
Super excellent. Thank you so much for that.
Can't hear him.
Can you, should I turn my camera to you? Okay, wait. Or maybe you can turn this to you, or like, what is it? Okay.
Because the microphone's on your laptop.
Okay, yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm so confused. Intelligence covered by Krishna.
Thank you so much for an excellent class. My only question is, I think some of us might not know a few of the terms like Vipralamba, Sambo, uppercut, and
Prakat?
Prakat.
Yes.
Prakat. So if you do describe
Okay,
this.
yes. Yeah. So Vipralamba is the loving service, loving devotional service to Krishna in separation, and Sambhoga is loving devotional service to Krishna in meeting. So Vipralamba is the mood of separation we carry when we cannot see Krishna with in front of us, but he is eternally present in our hearts and we are remembering him all the time. And Sambhoga is when the meeting, the direct face-to-face meeting of Krishna and his devotees. So Vipralamba and Sambhoga are in one sense very much interconnected to each other, because in Vipralamba also lies Sambhoga. And while Sambhoga, the meeting or the union is going on, there is always knowing that there is going to be a Vipralamba or a separation later on. And with regard to Prakat and Aprakat, so Aprakat is unmanifest, which we cannot see anymore. And Prakat is manifest, like when Krishna came on this Bhumandal 5,000 years ago, he manifested. Means in the sense that we could see him. He was physically present. Everyone could see him. Few realized who he was, but nonetheless, he was visible to the material eyes. And Aprakatis is when he disappears from our material vision, but he is there in a spiritual form, performing his pastimes eternally. So even right now, when we go to Vrindavan, his unmanifest pastimes are eternally going on. We have to have Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochalina. We have to have the eyes anointed with love of Godhead to be able to actually see them. Yes.
It's not just glasses, dear devotees, it's eyes.
It's
We have to have
eyes.
eyes. Yeah.
Eyes.
Amazing.
The chakshu filled with love, which we get by chanting the holy name and by the grace of Srila Prabhupada.
Thank
Okay,
you.
any other yes, Janitai Prabhu.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Jani Prabhu.
My question is around, you made a statement about how Duryodhana was so covered, his intelligence, he was creating so many different reasons how we can't see what's reality before us. So I was just wondering, how do you help someone to see when you're so blinded by false ego? Because you were mentioning like we have to help them or say to them, or what do you do? Because Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra had the best advisors, and neither of them still could hear. So how do you suggest is the way that you help someone when you can see that they're blinded by their own false ego, but they can't see?
Actually, the answer lies in that itself, that many times we just can't do anything. It depends also on our relationship with such a person. The fact is that Duryodhan had never ever respected Vidur. He was his uncle, but he had never respected him. So that is why even though Vidur gave him the best of advice, even though Gandhari, his own mother, had given him the best of advice, he had love for his mother, but not the amount of love and respect that would be enough for him to take their advice seriously. So the very first thing we can do is through our own behavior, through our own achar, we try to show what is the right path. That is one way in which people can see what we can, that they are blinded, and what we are saying is actually the truth. And the second thing we can do is actually sometimes just pray for them. Depending on our relationship, we can give them prasad, give them the holy name. So I'm sorry, I can elaborate more on this answer later on, but we have to end the class now. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Nandini Radhika Devidasi Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you.
We're taking that there, okay.
Okay, dear devotees, time to prakat. Do some prakat. Manifest your bright face, please.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's no sound. Manohar Prabhu, if you can hear us, there's no sound. Okay, good.
Wow, that's nice. Shri Shri Radha Murida Gaura Chandana Bhagavan ki Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai, this was the class. Hare Krishna. Ram says hi. Ram, say hi. Is get in there. See, Ram? All right. Okay. Reflections, angles of vision, dear devotees, please. Maybe something stuck out to you. What stuck out to me is what Krishna wants is to hang out with his devotees. Isn't that wonderful? Krishna can get everything just by wanting it instantly. Yet what he wants is the association of his friends. Cool. Jeffrey Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to appreciate Nandini Radhika this morning. Her reading of that purport was very engaging and it really kind of had the gears working. So thank you for that. But I also, I was just thinking about, as she was speaking on the difference between Sambhoga and Vipralambha, how each kind of end of that spectrum imbues the opposite with its power. And so in separation, the remembrance of being together is what gives that separation its strength, and being together, the thought of being separated is what gives that its strength. So even philosophically, there's this reciprocal relationship between concept that ties to the reciprocal relationship with God. And I thought that was really beautiful. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu, for having the capacity to appreciate the wonderful class that Nandini Radhika gave. Thank you.
So I think what I would like to do is I would just maybe elaborate a little bit on Janita Prabhu's question. He's not here, but sometimes like his question was actually very
Can you repeat the question
yes,
for those
yes,
with
I will.
ADD?
He so Janita Prabhu asked the question that like how Duryodhan was very much covered by his ego to the extent that he couldn't see the reality which was right in front of him. He was trying to rationalize his propaganda, saying that what he was doing was justified in doing it. So, what do we do with such people? Because, yes, it's true, we find such people even nowadays. I believe most of our, unfortunately, political leaders in today's world are also like that way. They push their own agenda, their own political desires, almost being blinded as to whether it is good for their nation, for the subject. So it all depends on like what we personally what we can do is it depends, as I mentioned, the relationship that we have with such a person. Through our own behavior, through our own purity on one level, we can show to them that that there is a side to them that they are ignoring, that they are not looking at the whole picture, that they are blinded by their illusion. So achar is very important. Uh, and then also, obviously, you know what, it depends. So once they see that we are behaving in a certain way, we have to build respect for them. In the earlier days, there were brahmanas, pure brahmanas who used to guide the society, guide leaders, guide people in general. So, and that was because they were respected. If people have the respect for devotees based on how we behave with them, how we behave with everyone, how we see everything with a clear vision through the scriptures, then they will respect us and then they will be open to advice. But unfortunately, obviously, this takes a lot of time. And in the meantime, the best thing is, yeah, sometimes we can just pray for such people because the illusion that they are harboring, the tendencies, their ego is so big that even the best of best advice can somehow fall on deaf ears. So we can just pray to such people. Depending on our relationship with them, we can give them the holy name, prasad, what is best possible for us. If possible, like, with some of the leaders that are there, like if we have great spiritual leaders in our community who can meet with them, especially if the people who are in illusion, they are leaders in their own rights. Uh, like for example, we have His Holiness Radhanath Swami meeting with, say, the president of US or, some other great leader, something, like anything, such meetings, even a slight meeting with such great personalities can actually open a small uh, gateway, in their mind to be open to more intelligence, to see things in a more proper vision. So yes, we have to keep trying our best. There's no other way out. But at least on a individual level, we have to try ourselves first to be devotees in very good standing, having the right behavior when we are speaking, especially with the world at large, so that we can gain their trust, their respect, most importantly, and they will be open to listening to us. Any other suggestions on this matter are greatly appreciated.
Bhima Prabhu, do you have any suggestions on this matter or interjections?
I'm like an old man with newfangled technology. What matter? I've got ADD like you, Prabhu. What matter are you talking about?
How do you share bhakti with those who are blinded and can't really perceive Krishna even in front of their own eyes? Don't say right hook.
Listen, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing as stubborn as a pony or a horse. The cats got their own independence. These are animals, and the one way you can connect with them is just love and affection. And then all of a sudden they learn trust because you're giving of yourself. This love and affection comes from Krishna. Ultimately, we're not the source of it. It's Krishna. All that love and affection, he's the like the sun, and love and affection is all his rays. And if we can just get out of the way of that, and those rays come through us, whether it be something as stubborn as a pony, a wild pony, or something, or someone like a devotee who's in trouble, or a devotee who's needs some help and some support. If we learn to get out of the way and let Krishna shine through, we can all be those people that Prabhujini was talking about. And by the way, when I hear her speak, I feel like I'm being talked to by a wise gopi, like a true consort who's privy to Krishna's intimate thoughts about us. So I'm very much inspired because she's so, what is it, devotees when they have surety, like they speak from a very firm ground of faith and surety in Krishna's promise, his promises to us. So we either have fear or promises. And Krishna's always like you said, Prabhu, Krishna wants to hang out with us and make his promises come true. And he wants to enjoy seeing us, like when we have kids, we enjoy seeing their successes. We enjoy seeing them surmount something. We get great joy out of our kids. So we can imagine that Krishna must get great joy out of seeing us become successes in his service. Anyways, I'm rambling on. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Krishna Chandra has his hand up.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, everybody. So I mean, I had two thoughts. First of all, we should always engage in Sankirtan. I believe that was, I think Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do that, and of course, I think it has just an amazing effect on everyone that we come across. I mean, I've been to the Harinam from our New York community, and just I see it every day. People are just drawn to it, and also, I feel like we, in our daily lives, for instance, we, a lot of us here are not like part of a temple. We're, having jobs and everything. So we do come across people, and it gives us an opportunity to see, how to get through to people. And like, for instance, for myself, my father loves to eat. I give him prasadam as much as I can, and also like I'll go to like sometimes it's karaoke night in one of my local towns, and then I sing My Sweet Lord to people, and they've never heard Maha Mantra before. So, I think there are just plenty of opportunities we can bring Krishna to people, and it resonates with them. They have a good impression always.
Can you record that, Krishna Chandra, and send us? I want to hear you sing.
Sure. Next time I'll do it. I promise.
Right, with that voice, it's got to be something cool.
Thank you. Yes, it's a passion of mine. I think Thursday. It's every Thursday, so Thursday night I'll do it, and I'll give it to you, everybody.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great. Who would have thought? That's a form of Sankirtan, karaoke night. My Sweet Lord. That's Sankirtan. That's unbelievable.
You can go. You can have Maha Mantra for people that are just in bars drinking, and they never see it coming.
Jagai and Madai are sitting at the bar.
There you go.
And they throw a bottle and hit you upside the head, but you keep on singing.
Yeah, of course. Never stop.
So I was wanting to give special blessings to Isaiah on his birthday. Just as
Happy birthday, Isaiah. Where are you?
Birthday, Isaiah.
Where is your prakat, Isaiah? Karen, is he ready to receive the blessings? Yeah, there he is. Okay. Krishna Kumari, please.
Dearest Isaiah, the devotees here, we're all gathered today in honor of your appearance. We're so glad you appeared on Mother Bhumi on this day We're celebrating you and your birth. And we're all blessing you that you may always call out Hare Krishna whenever you are happy, sad, fearful, angry. Yes, may Krishna come to your tongue just as he does when you're here with us and you bless us with the holy name. May you be blessed and always, always love the Maha Mantra and singing Kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Can we all get a little bit of that blessing?
Sorry, they say that the next generation is always going to be better as far as the Sankirtan movement goes. So we see that the children of today, they're going to be our future leaders. So we have to put in as much time and effort as we can in making sure that they have a clear scriptural vision with which they can be good leaders and they can guide everyone. Then it becomes so much more easier for us to spread the Sankirtan movement. We will have more and more prasad distribution, more and more Sankirtan, and yeah, more and more souls will be going back to Godhead. And the future is in their hands. So yes, this is one of the ways in which we can remove the covering of illusion is there in this world by just guiding the next generation.
We love you, Isaiah. Hare Krishna.
Is there anything else anyone would like to share? If not, then maybe we can end the class here. I don't see Anand Bihari Prabhu here. He got locked out accidentally. Anyways, if there's nothing anyone would like to share, then maybe we can end the class here. Thank you all so much. It's a very auspicious last day of Kartik. The day to really pray to Krishna, to Srimati Radharani, to Srila Prabhupada, to Lord Chaitanya, especially to Lord Chaitanya, so that he and Srila Prabhupada can give us eternal residence in Vrindavan, where we all are meant to go and serve Krishna and his associates eternally. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Let's
so
hear
much,
from Isaiah.
Mataji. Hare Krishna. Happy birthday, Isaiah. We love you.
One more Hare Krishna, Isaiah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
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 Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai.
Bye.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone.